So I'm Zidong, second year master student in the geometric major for Hong Kong Polytechnic University. And today I'm being so excited here in GISRUK UK to share you some of my research finding about the urban functional identity in Hong Kong. And now it's 4 p.m. in Hong Kong, so good afternoon to people in UK. And no, good morning, sorry, the time. Okay, and let's get started. So this presentation includes 5 parts. The first part will focus on the motivation, the background of our research, and second part is related to the relevant literature and propose our research question that need to be addressed in our case study. And then we move to the data and methodology. And afterwards, the result will be presented and discussed. Finally, we spend little time to discuss and summarize our conclusion. And two pictures show this slide. Obviously, they represent a very distinct meaning, people, activities, time, or the place vibe. The upper left picture is showing the street image of Central in Hong Kong. And that is the busiest commercial district, also a retail hub in Asia. So in this context, we can use the words, for example, like the work, business, CBD, bank, professions, or law firm to describe this scenario. And in contrast, as for the lower right image, this is a strip bar icon in Hong Kong, Lan Kwai Fong. And in this image, people getting off their work may concentrate in front of the bar, having drink and talk. And it represents a good vibe of entertainment or leisure activity. And we can use some words like the nightlife, wild restaurant, beer to describe such situation. And surprisingly, these two scenarios we just mentioned is located adjacent with maybe with a 2 or 3 minute walk between two places in a same neighborhood. So we can actually discover a really high density activity, human activity in such urban space. And in addition, since Hong Kong is an international city, melting pot of Chinese and British culture. So generally the local residents as well as the tourists also have a really diverse everyday activity or lifestyle. And it's really important for us to understand or maybe further quantify such human activity. And moving to the literature review here, we did some research on previous studies and to learn how to extract urban function. Generally speaking, 3 mainstream methodology have been proposed. For example, remote sensing, social sensing or interviews. As we can see in this slide, the remote sensing image have performed well in capturing the physical feature of the urban landscape, like the shape of the building or the land survey texture. And for instance, here, the H1 image represents a commercial building, the H2 image represents institutional, like the university or the government. And H4 and 5 represent the residential district with different density. So such information can provide us an overall estimation of urban space. But one critical limitation, I think, is not available in inspecting the complex functional patterns in a highly dense urban environment. For example, a high building, the underground is for food courts, the floor 1 and 2 is for shopping mall, and above the floor 2 is apartment or hotel. So it's not available using remote sensing only, I mean. So in addition to the remote sensing, the interviews is another type of data set that have been proposed and conducted widely by social science scholars and urbanists. For example, here, as proposed by Lynch in 1916, the famous book, The Image of the City, it's based on a long-winded interview held with a small sample of city residents. It's in LA, Chicago, and London. And the interview asked the city resident to invoke their own image of the physical environment. And by using such data, human perception of the urban space can be sorted out and studied. But another limitation, this kind of methodology may involve a time-consuming and laborious process of data connection. And it also can only cover a small research sample or a small research scope compared to other methodology. So here, apart from the above mentioned, the third type of research technique is often depends on the urban computational technique or geospatial big data. It appeared in last 10 years, I may think. And Lansley and Longley here propose we study in the CEUS, Computer Environment and Urban System. They use the Twitter to explore the profile of user behavior and social attitude. In their study, they attempt to extract useful information about activity and opinion across time and space in central London or City of London. And in their topic, in their study, 20 topics in total are finally generated and interpreted. Here, for example, they describe a topic 1 as a photography or sight, and the topic 2 pay more attention to the feeling, the human sense, like the optimism, kindness, or positivity, while the topic 3 is talk about the leisure and tourist attraction. So despite such case study we just mentioned have provided us a really useful, solid evidence in understanding the urban function, but only still a limited number of cases emphasize the daily activity by local residents. For example, the working or the general commuting patterns. It's not usually or frequently posted in social media. So in our case study, we propose 3 questions and using Hong Kong as a study area. So first question, what are the thematic place topic can be extracted from a livable, complex urban space? And the second, can we capture some difference in the spatial distribution of the topic? And the third question is by introducing a local street level perspective, different selected landmark, how do this thematic function constitute the place identity? And we also extract some tourist review from online platform TripAdvisor, and we will compare these 2 aspects. So the data we use in our case study is POI, the point of interest data provided by Autolibrary, a Chinese web mapping and location-based service provider. And we show the distribution of the map POI density here for the Hong Kong Island, the lower 3 part. And we can easily find the concentration of POI appear in the Central and Causeway Bay. And these 2 locations are the business CBD, and another is the energetic retail hub in Hong Kong. And it's still notable that the Yau Chin Mong districts have a long strip of a higher POI density. And this is a latent road lighted by a large number of shops and restaurants. And to extract our urban functional topic, here we implement a mining technique from natural language processing, MLP. And the technique LDA, lantern direction allocation, is an unsupervised generated model that can help us to construct a hidden topic by taking a set of words numeric representation. And as shown as the upper right, each generate topic is organized by words by words, and then move to the lower right. As we can see, it represents all documents joint probability distribution over a given of a topic. So similar to a text mining, here we apply this philosophy to our extracting the function in an urban area. And POI in our case study can be taken as a word, for example, a primary school, like club, restaurant. And a geographic space containing POI is regarded a document in our case study, while the entire study area, the downtown Hong Kong is the corpus. The corpus is a document collection. And in this regard, the thematic function are extracted from the urban space and can interpret it based on their highly related POI type. For example, here bank, commercial, stock, we can interpret the topic 1 as a commercial related topic. Also, it also based our human knowledge and the local knowledge. And 2 metrics are shown here. They are the row to topic metrics and the topic to document metrics. Noted that the topic here is referred for the thematic activity, while a document here is regarded as a geographic space. So talking about the results, live thematic topics are identified from Hong Kong. Topic 1 described as a business topic related to financial and commercial activity using the such keywords. And topic 2 indicate a culture activity like culture training institute or school. And topic 3 suggests an urban function of working, but is similar to the topic 1, is emphasized more about the government, service, or social organization. And interestingly, we still find some like tourist attraction, park, and sing spots are also appear in this topic. And topic 4 and topic 7 are both about the shopping activity, but topic 4 is related to a fashion shopping exclusive shop. And topic 7 is more about the household servings. And let's focus on our research question 2, the spatial distribution of some selected topic. Here we visualize 4 of our identified topic. For the first topic, the financial banking activity, it's obvious that the highest concentration is in the central. And for the topic 3, the government and tourism, 2 clustering areas are appearing in the middle of the Admiralty and the Wan Chai. These 2 areas have a considerable number of government office and also have some like memory park or something. And interestingly, we find the topic 4 and topic 6 have a relatively similar spatial distribution. And we believe that shopping and eating activity may have a close relationship, and they are both the main subject in everyday leisure activity. And then we introduce a street level of local perspective to describe the local impact on the topic composition. Here we select 6 local landmarks. The first landmark is the Causeway Bay. Here is a really busy commercial area in Hong Kong, having lots of financial shop and fashion shop and shopping center. And the second landmark is Central, featured by most financial firm and banks. And the first landmark is Immigration Tower, a government building in Wan Chai, featured by multiple government agencies. And the fourth one is Soho and Lan Kwai Fong, and tourist attraction, but I think it's also for local residents. I visit there often, so offering really good cuisine and bar. And the fifth one is Temple Street, is also attraction for people and known for its live market and its food product, open air food stores. And the last one is a Whampoa Garden, is a residential housing estate in South Kowloon. So here we present the result of location portion for the functional topic aggregated by the landmark. And here the location portion is a type of metric that can help us to quantify the association between the topic and a geographic space. So a closer relationship between topic and space will have a higher corresponding value, more closer to 1 here, we homogenize it and have a darker color. So therefore, for example, still for Central, we can find POI here exhibit a higher degree in the financial and banking topic. And other functional topics like shopping or health or eating have a relative lower or underrepresented in this landmark. And another area I want to say is the Soho and Leng Kwai Fong. It represents an obvious tendencies about eating and drinking, but interestingly, they still have a great proportion of tourism and culture. I think one reason is that there is lots of art galleries and historical museums and monuments in this neighborhood. And more, we also focus on or interested in the perceptual description of feelings as regards our selected local landmark. So by taking 3 tourist-oriented landmark as an illustration, we derive the high-frequency keywords from our tourist review in TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor is an online travel platform with a huge amount of user-generated content. And surprisingly, the tourist impression reflected by words are mostly consistent with our previous finding, but with little bit dissimilar results. For example, here Soho and Leng Kwai Fong, the overall world class represent a light life containing words like the light or bar or beer drinks, but we still find some perceptual keywords like great, good, fun, and party. It to some extent represent a positive vibe or a sentiment to just suggesting people, oh, just have fun in this area. And surprisingly, review from Temple Street reveals an impression of light market with cheap products, as you can see here, cheap products here. And this is not described in location caution or in our previous finding. A reasonable explanation is that the outdoor event or activity cannot be well recorded in POI connection, such as open air light market or open air food stores.
3 minutes to go.
Okay, fine. The talk about moving to the discussion and conclusion, and the formal investigation mainly focus on understanding the one-side representation of urban activity. But in such a complex built-up environment, obviously is may not enough to depict a realistic activity in a city. So in our case, we use POI data to describe the object image of realistic life in Hong Kong. And further, we introduce a local perspective to portray human activity based on the local landmark in combination of the perceptual review from TripAdvisor. And we hope that by combining the objective and subjective aspect of a place, and we attempt to provide a nuanced image of the city. But few limitations had to be mentioned. Firstly, some outdoor activity cannot be well described using POIs. For example, as the picture showing here, the food stores or open outdoor markets cannot well recorded by POIs. This activity mostly open for a short-term period or only at night. And even we had used the trip reviews to supplement the omission, but we can only focus a small sample of tourist attraction. And such issues should be our potential direction in future study. Okay, let's have a quick takeaway talk. And firstly, we depict a diverse image of thematic activity in Hong Kong, like topic represented in our case study, covering the most part of human activity, daily activity in our city. And second, by using the spatial distribution, we observe that most activity are highly concentrated in a geographic space of downtown core in Hong Kong. For example, the commercial and leisure activity in Northern Hong Kong Island or Kowloon Peninsula. And we also discovered the landmark can contain multiple thematic urban function. For example, the culture, tourism, leisure, entertainment activity in Leng Kwai Fong. This is really few mentioned by previous study. And finally, the reviews from the TripAdvisor provide a complementary view to understand the perceptual or so-called subjective side of the human activities, such as such description can, to some extent, represent the vibe or the sentiment dimension of a geography space. Thank you, that's Anne.
Stephen Law, hi Stephen. Stephen says, thank you Zidong for the presentation. The findings are intuitive. How did you determine the number of topics within the LDA?
Yeah, it is a good question and a common question when we're doing the research about the thematic topic, because generally we depend on the LDA. It has some metrics to indicate the dissimilarity between the generated topic, and also it's also really important to combine our local knowledge to determine, okay, we will have the number, the number of our topic. This is depending on the generally, it's depending on two sides. One side is the metric provided by the LDA algorithm, and another metric is based on our local knowledge. Yeah.
So I guess I have a question, which would be, how do you account for the temporal dynamics of points of interest? I think you kind of alluded to it on the last couple of slides, but some places are open at certain times and the function of a place may change depending on whether it's the day or the night or the weekend or weekdays.
Yeah, it's I think a really challenge in the current research, because we use the data is depending on user generate or based on a collection by a company or government agency. And this is, I think is a really challenge for current study, and we hope that further study, we may use some like the tweets or some local social media in Hong Kong to, to based on their location-based surveys to connect, to capture their temporal activity. But yeah, good question.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a reasonable approach. We had a PhD student in our lab, Xintao. I don't know if you've heard of his work, but he did a similar thing with social media data. So if you're interested, I can send you some links to his work on how he was looking at the temporal dynamics.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Juanfa's got a question. Hi, Juanfa. I know both the people are asking the questions so far, so nice to see you here this morning. So Juanfa says, thank you, Zidong. Did you look into the bias of the data set used, such as comparing with other POI data?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question. Every study had bias. I had to admit it. And compared to other POI, particularly for the user-generated one, this POI is from Autolevy. Our case is a famous web mapping company in China. So it generally, I think the government-based or the service provider-based POI may have relatively more objective. I think it's more objective compared to the user-generated, because if I'm a web user, I may also record the POI. I think, oh, it's fun, so I record it and post to the social media. But a government or a web mapping company, they don't have such consideration. They will record everything. It is